Hello and welcome to this week's episode of
the Filmmakers Podcast.
This is a podcast where we talk
filmmaking,
from indie film to studio films and
everything in between.
How to get them made, how to make them, and how to
not royally F them up, in our very humble opinion.
Thank you so much for joining us. I am Giles Alderson.
I am Dom Lenoir.
And we are both writers, directors and producers. And we are in for a super treat today. You are, especially because me and Dom have already recorded this. We've got one of the most exciting, raw, kinetic voices in modern cinema with us today.
Whoa.
It's a filmmaker, writer, editor and actor whose work, often with his brother Josh, defines the high-wire, adrenaline-soaked style that is completely unforgettable. He is one half of the acclaimed Safdie Brothers duo. He co-directed, co-wrote and edited films that make your heart pound out of your chest. We're talking about the incredible neon-drenched chase thriller Good Time and the anxiety-induced chaotic masterpiece Uncut Gems, which starred Adam Sandler and got him an Oscar nomination for the first time. These films established a gritty, naturalistic style full of propulsive energy, often focusing on outsiders desperately struggling in the urban landscape of New York.
Wow.
But he's not just a master behind the camera. He's also an actor. He's completely transformed and disappeared into roles. Incredible performances in Good Time, in Paul Thomas Anderson's Licorice Pizza. He was brilliant as a
scientist in Oppenheimer.
Yeah, in Christopher Nolan's blockbuster Oppenheimer. And he's popped up in TV shows like Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he's co-created, wrote, directed and starred in the critically acclaimed The Curse. And now, Dom, he's stepped out as solo director, writer and editor with a highly anticipated film that me and Dom loved, The Smashing Machine. And we sat down with him, which is filmed, it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's on there now, myself and Dom. Dom, what did we talk about with the amazing Benny Safdie?
Well, this is one of the most in-depth process genius type episodes that we've done in a long time, especially from people from awards season. So if you're one of these people that's like, oh, I'm not sure what I'm going to learn from a big filmmaker like Benny Safdie that I can apply, this is an episode for you, because he really does go into all of the tidbits about working with actors, the transformational role that Dwayne Johnson put together for this, working with actors like Emily Blunt and what she brings to the table. And also things like finding the mood, the texture, the lens, and the feel of this movie, and the kind of the themes such as bromance and camaraderie and the world of fighting and all of the multifaceted wonders that go into making this very, very kinetic film.
Exactly that. So you might not have seen this movie yet, but it's coming out this Friday, the 3rd of October, in cinemas. You'll see the posters everywhere with Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt across them, because they are fantastic in this film. So go to the cinema and watch this. This is what movies are made for. We all cry out all the time, oh, Hollywood aren't making these new, exciting movies. It's all Marvel, it's this, that and the other. But when a movie like this comes into the cinema, people don't go watch them, so why not? So I'm saying to you, do go out there and watch these films, the ones that just stand out, that you go, oh, I might not have heard of that. Do go support, because otherwise we'll stop making these kind of movies. Hollywood definitely is stopping already. So go watch The Smashing Machine in cinemas this Friday. So, The Smash Machine, it's an intense biographical sports drama which premiered at the Venice Film Festival to great acclaim. And as Thomas said, it stars a completely transformed Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, or just Dwayne Johnson, as a pioneering MMA fighter Mark Kerr, alongside Emily Blunt, who is always brilliant. And as Benny Safdie does say on the episode, she's often overlooked because she's so brilliant. People just expect this brilliance from her all the time. But this
stop
movie...
overlooking Emily, all right? Just stop overlooking her. Stop it.
Exactly. Exactly. We should all stop overlooking.
Especially you.
Especially you. This is... The Smash Machine is a grittier, unflinching look at a champion struggling with addiction and the pressures of sport. So, let's get to the episode with Benny Safdie, and myself and Dom, at the other side of that, will dissect one of the amazing things he said and dive into our topic of the week. So here he is, a true filmmaking polymath who brings a raw, authentic urgency to everything he touches. So please give a massive welcome to the brilliant Benny Safdie. Enjoy.
Hey, how are you?
Amazing.
Pleasure.
Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Giles.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
How are
to meet
you?
you. Well, I'm great.
Yeah, I like the
Yeah.
t-shirt. Look at
Thank
that.
you. This is my friend did this.
Yeah.
It's my logo for Out for the Count.
Which is kind of like the filmmaking process, isn't it?
Yes.
It is.
That's
Exactly.
the start. That's the
That's
start.
the start. And that's the
Yes,
end.
exactly.
Holding each other up. With
Yes.
this.
It's actually, it's like the Muybridge horse.
Oh,
Ding,
okay.
ding, ding.
Just
As they're falling.
As
you know.
they're falling.
Out for the Count is the...
Out for the count.
Yeah.
I like that. Pretty much, yeah, like filmmaking, but also like the film as well.
Yes, exactly.
Just
Yeah.
Out for the count.
Yeah.
How you do
Very
with
meta.
that. Very meta.
Yes.
We like that. This is the Filmmakers podcast. Thank
Okay.
you. Welcome to us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
With all filmmakers who do this, and we chat about filmmaking, how
Yeah.
we do it, the ins and outs, the ups and downs, the problems,
course.
all
Oh,
that good
Please.
stuff. So yeah,
The meat.
the meat,
The
Yeah.
meat and potato.
the vegan meat and potatoes in my case. But
Okay,
yeah.
you're vegan.
I am.
Interesting.
I am.
How is that?
I love it.
I
love
know.
it.
I feel guilty.
No,
That's
you
the thing
shouldn't.
is that's but this is why it's like
Go on.
I know that I probably should be also,
Uh-huh.
but anyway.
Yeah. Well, I've made a documentary about it, so
Okay.
yeah, that might persuade you at some
Great.
point. Yes, there you go.
But on to your film. On to your
But
film.
moving
Look,
to you.
This is such an amazing film. I mean, it's my favorite of yours because it's so poignant.
Well, thank you.
and I love the kind of bromance at the
Yeah.
side of it. I mean, that's really like one of my favorite bits. Is that kind
Yeah,
of,
because it's interesting because like I've done boxing. You know, I've done it for 10 years. It got a little bit harder when I started. When you can't go to a gym every day, but when you're there and you get to go to this boxing gym, the first moment I walked in, you're basically like, okay, I'm going to look like a complete idiot because I don't know how to throw a punch. And there's this like energy in there that I feel like probably they're going to make fun of me. But when you walk in and if you truly want to learn, they're going to take you in and they're going to basically you're going to become a part of that family because you go once, you go twice. And when they see you keep coming, they realize, wow, this guy really respects what it is that we're doing here. And you become part of that family. And I thought, this is unbelievable. And then I started sparring and you're thanking somebody for punching you in the face. You know, it's like, that was the greatest. You want to do that again. And I thought, this is really a unique side of this that I haven't really seen before. And I wanted to show that everybody really does care for one another and that like, these guys who you think are really kind of macho and angry are actually really sweet and caring and they respect one another and they want the best for each other. And that I really wanted to show that because it doesn't get seen all the time.
I think that was the most surprising bit for me was, you know, I've seen a few MMA fights.
Yeah.
I'm aware of the scene. It's all the posturing, the pre-fights, the anger, the insults. And you just assume that these are just guys that are rock hard and, no pun intended.
Yes.
That are just, you know, going at each other and angry all the time. But I mean, you know, Dwayne's character in this, he's so sensitive.
Yeah.
And
so
he
sweet.
really has these like funny values. Like there's a moment when he's asked to look at the sunset.
Yes.
That are so against what he does for a living.
Yeah. And it's like, and he's sitting in the middle and he's got to ask. It's funny, we mentioned the problems. So that scene was one that was very hard to film.
Oh, go on.
Because like it was just like it's those little scenes that are very difficult. And the guy was just so it was very difficult to get him to perform a very subtle interaction because he needs to be surprised and upset that somebody's bothering him to open up the window shade. And then on top of that, the person asking him is pretty big. So I didn't want him to be afraid of him because he's coming at it very sweetly. So it was a very unique dynamic that I had to capture. And it was hard. And so at some point it was like I had to say, when he asks you to open the shade, he says, excuse me, he's reading his book. I said, you don't care about this person. You don't like this person. You think, why are you bothering me right now? I'm on this long flight. What is it that you want right now? And I needed to capture that.
Yeah.
And so it really was, I had to pull out every trick. Like I had to do everything possible to get this guy. Because I'm not casting an actor. I'm casting a real person to be in that part. So I really have to get them to the place of having that because I knew that it would make Dwayne and Mark feel that much sweeter. And the fact that he's met with that kind of unspoken anger from this guy, excuse me, I'm sorry, would you mind opening? I just want to see the sunset. And he goes, oh, and he does it. And then he goes right back to his thing. So it's like, I'm putting such care and time into those moments because I think when they get enlarged on the biggest screen possible, you learn something, like that resonated for you. And I'm so happy that did. But I think all of that effort and time, it's interesting when you have these small moments, you think, oh, they're such small things, but really they're pretty large and they're pretty loud. And they can,
big
if you
moment for the character.
Exactly. And if you let it wash over you, then you can really understand it,
You mentioned about those small moments in movies. And often when you're directing something, those can be, like you said, really tricky.
Yeah.
How do you normally get through those or difficult situations, especially when you're on set and maybe time's against you or losing the light, the sunset's going?
Yeah.
How do you as a director, especially now a solo director, manage those moments? Because it's just you.
Well, it's interesting because like one of the things that is helpful is I don't have to have a conversation about it. So it's like that actually is one instance where it can be a little quicker.
With yourself.
Yeah, now it's...
Yes, so I'm going to say, let's do it again. It's just like, let's go. Or we're done. So that's interesting. but it is, you kind of just, I like to create an environment where there's no pressure, which is hard, where you basically, so I'll take all that stuff and I'll put it in me and I'll eat the pressure for everybody else because I don't want an actor to feel like we gotta go because it's just going to make a bad performance.
Yeah.
So truthfully, it's like you want to create an environment where you could do anything. It's okay. And it's like, oh my God, I'm sorry. That was a bad take. No, it wasn't, because now we have that version of what we did. Let's now change it. We know now how to change it to get to where we want to go. So we needed to do that. It wasn't a mistake at all, So it truly is always a positive in the moment. And trying to create that, I think, allows for very free and alive performances. It creates a spontaneous environment where anything is possible,
Can we just talk a little bit about how you've built the overall sort of feel of the film? Because I mean, we talked about how you work with actors a tiny bit.
Yeah.
We've talked about that bromance, which is really at the heart of it.
Yeah.
But the visual grain of the film, it's got this lovely like nostalgia to it. The tone is that, and the musical track is one of the best musical tracks.
Nala Sinefro.
Like so good.
Unbelievable.
It was
right here in London.
There you go.
And
Perfect.
It sort of drips with like melancholy and challenging relationships and nostalgia. And how do you sort of build all that from the ground up?
So the first thing I do is I do a camera test, and I'll do a camera test, and that was literally just Maceo Bishop, who's the cinematographer, and me, and Glenn Kaplan, who's the first AC. We kind of just go out and film places that we know look like where we'll be filming, and I'll have music to it, and I'll edit it together, and it'll kind of have a vibe of what the movie's going to feel like. We'll get shots that look like we're testing lenses. We found the lens actually when he gets knocked out and the lens, all the flares are happening. Yeah. That's a very specific uncoded zoom lens that Glenn found, and we held onto it for that one shot in the movie. And it was something we discovered in the camera test. We did stuff where we put like pantyhose on behind the camera. We didn't end up doing that in the film because it did something strange with the lights we were using, but we were really experimenting with how to get it to look a certain way. So we ended up using Pro Mist and
classic
Locon, those kind of things to really make the image have this kind of nostalgic feeling, because it is a feeling. You look at it and you think, oh, that's a different time. And it's not now, but I realized if we did all that stuff, you could film today and it would still have that feeling. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is it's 16 millimeter, which a lot of my favorite movies are documentaries on 16 millimeter, because it just makes it think, how did they do that? Because with digital, it's very simple to film everything all the time, or tape, same thing. But 16 millimeter, there's a level of technical need and just that makes it, you think, that's hard. So they had to walk around filming everything with camera bags, lenses, lights, sync sound. It's just a more difficult process that you understand when you see it. So just by filming a very normal moment in that style, it just inherently has a different weight to it. So that's what I want. I was thinking about that specifically within this movie, because I really wanted it to feel like you were there, but also that there was this kind of element of ultra reality, that like,
Yeah, there's a slight documentary, wasn't
Yeah.
We were going to say, yes, the documentary style you seem to pull out of this. And it's interesting how you mentioned your favourite films there shot on 16mm with documentary style.
Yeah.
Did you shoot everything on 16mm? Because
No.
I thought there was some on 75.
Yes, we shot some on 65, we shot some on VHS.
You actually did.
Yes.
Because it had that look, and I thought, I wonder if they pulled it down. But
Yes. So
incredible.
I wanted it to be like how I discovered Mark on YouTube, watching these fights, on a tape. So you see that, and then what's it like to be inside his brain? Now it's this 16mm kind of strange, ethereal, pseudo-documentary kind of world, but then the music is playing into it in a way that only a movie can, So I'm able to take things and levers that I know from fiction filmmaking and add to that and deepen that. And then it goes to 65. And it's just that journey of clarity, I think, is very important to the movie.
Yeah, I think that's so important. Like, can we talk about the actors a little bit here?
Yeah.
Did the project come to you with Dwayne attached? Did you find it? And
So Dwayne came to me with this idea to do something like this.
Okay.
And it's very rare that like that usually works. Because most of the time somebody comes in like, oh, that's great. And then you're like, but it's not what I want to do. But there was something about Mark that really resonated with inside of me. And I also just knew that Dwayne was so connected to this idea and that he was so connected to Mark. And I thought there's something to explore here that's very special and very unique, because we can work together and he can deliver a performance that I believe will be very one of a kind, that if he could really embody another human being, wouldn't that be incredible? And I wanted to try.
But did you know at the start
Yes.
that he would be this good?
I did.
How did you know?
I did. I knew that
would
he
never
would.
in a million. He's
I
a
can't
brilliant actor, but this is like one of the best award season performances I've seen.
I appreciate that.
It's really hard to,
I can't
how good that is.
I can't explain that I knew that he could do it. I just saw it in his eyes. And that's the thing, is like you look at somebody and you can just tell, oh, they want to go there. They want to do this. And he would listen to I would give him really subtle things to talk about and think about. And he would take them and internalize them in a way that I would never even imagine. For example, when we were talking about the elevator, when he takes the elevator and he goes and it's one shot, gets in the elevator, we stay in the elevator with him, goes upstairs and he goes to his locker room and he bursts into tears.
Yes.
And one thing is he's really crying. But in real life, when people cry, they don't let you see it. They cover. And it's the tone of his voice, the tone of the cry that you're like, that's real tears. And then you see him wipe it away. It's really impactful. But he has to not be crying in front of other people and only cry when he's in the room by himself. So I'm talking to him and I said, look, I find when I get to a place that I hysterically cry, it's more that I'm not thinking about something sad. It's more that I'm confused about what it is that I'm feeling emotionally. Yeah. Is it this? Is it that? Is it this? And everything kind of just snowballs into a place of my brain breaks down and I start crying. And so that's what I said to him. And he gets in the elevator and you can see in his face, he's going back and forth to somewhere in his brain. I'm like, oh my God. I just said that to him, and now I see this emotional confusion on his face to the point where he turns around and can't handle it anymore. And then he starts doing it with his back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is remarkable. So he really lived inside of this, you know?
That's fascinating, actually, what you sort of mentioned about crying there, because an actor the other day was asking, like, I really struggle to cry on camera. And it's not about the crying. It's about everything building up
around
to the crying.
it. Exactly.
Everything around it.
Yeah.
What's caused that situation?
Yeah, because it's like, it's a very strange thing to
Do something as a cue.
Yeah, do something as a cue, but also do something like that where it has a complexity where you don't necessarily know why they're crying. You know, that's the other thing.
It's so interesting. That's someone, when you ask someone to play drunk or whatever, don't play drunk, play the opposite, because someone who's drunk tries to play the opposite. And same when they're trying.
Yeah.
Someone trying to be sober.
Trying to be sober, or
Yeah.
you don't cry in front of someone, you actually try not to.
Exactly. That's the thing is by withholding and trying to hold back on the emotion,
Yeah.
eventually it's like, sorry, not going to work.
Not gonna work. I think we've got maybe time for one more question,
Yes.
but maybe that is on the director-actor relationship. And you know what you guys did with Adam Sandler as well, with Uncut Gems, what you've done here with Dwayne, with the Smasher Machine, is fantastic. Maybe some little tip for our, directors out there working with actors when you do have a situation where you can't break through or you're struggling in that way. What works for you?
Well, you need to get to know the person. That's the clearest thing you could do is if you treat it like, okay, we're going to show up and we're going to do it. You're probably going to get a performance that feels like that. You just need to get to know the person and you need to like them. You need to get along and you need to have a kind of a good vibe. And I think that and I did that I tried to do that with everybody. Like I mentioned that the guy just in the thing, I did a rehearsal with him that was really intense just for that little role, but I think that if you get along, then you have a shorthand and you can talk to one another and you can be honest with each other. And that's what will allow for a really good performance, to come through.
Amazing.
Amazing.
This is definitely one of the best films I've seen this year.
Oh, thank you.
It really was heartwarming and brilliant. Emily's brilliant as well, Shout.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I know that's the thing.
Don't ever forget.
It's like the
she
thing
does
with
a lot
Emily
of work
that's
in the background.
it's so, I feel bad for her because she's so good all the time.
All the time.
That everybody's like, and of course, Emily, she's so great. But she does something here that's really difficult and really hard, the tenor that she hits. And I'm just so grateful for it. So.
Yeah, you should be. Honestly, congratulations. A huge shout out to you for this film.
Yeah.
It's going to do wonders for everything. We just loved it. So congrats.
Yes. Amazing.
Thank
Good
you.
stuff.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
Great.
Appreciate it. Well, that was the amazing Benny Safdie talking to myself, Giles, and Dom about filmmaking in general, but really about his latest movie, which is kind of massively impressive.
It is indeed.
Really impressive.
Spectacular.
Movie. It really is. It's a smashing. The Smasher Machine out in cinemas this Friday. It's smashing, you could say.
If you're like, is this another film where The Rock's playing a sort of Hollywood character? No. He's up there with any of the best actors of the season. I think the performance is very, very good.
I agree with you. I think there's not many Hollywood stars, and you put that into there's the leading actors, etc., the Chris Pines of this world. But then you've got stars like Tom Cruise, movie stars, Hollywood stars. And I definitely, Will Smith was in there.
Yep.
He might not be anymore, but I definitely say Dwayne Johnson is in there.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds, another one. There isn't many. Margot Robbie's probably in there, but you're struggling, aren't you? After, and Dwayne Johnson really has stepped up into this place, and I'd be very surprised if he doesn't get an Oscar nomination come February. I really would be. So it's just incredible what he's done.
He better do.
Yeah, and I mean, look, he's playing a character that isn't too far from what he's done all his life.
Yeah,
but
he likes smashing stuff.
Yeah, but still, to get the nuance and the depth and the heart of this. But I think this is something we talked about with Benny a little bit as well, about how you can pull a performance like this from an actor. But all actors want to do this kind of thing. They want to be a bit more reserved and want to pull it back. Adam Sandler is a perfect example, and Benny Safdie's done it again here with Dwayne. It's really incredible, right?
Well, I think there's a lot of studio pressure. I think once you've, it is very much about box office. I think Dwayne said this himself. Like, there's a sort of expectation for things to perform with the numbers side. So you're there to carry a movie and you're there to appeal to a mass market. So it's kind of dangerous for them, and sometimes it's dangerous for the agents. So, if you're not an actor that's known for flipping between the two, it can be sort of, slightly dicey territory to try and, get into something like this. And to give something different. I mean, same with Tom Cruise. He's talked about the responsibility of the leading man before, and when there's a certain sort of budget level going on, like a lot of the time, he sort of has felt like he can't go into the more character actoring territory because he has to be the sort of the grounding anchor of the movie. So it's an interesting sort of expectations.
Yes, which brings us perfectly onto our topic of the week, which is, I think something Benny touched on, is warmth within a film. How do you create warmth? How do you,
there's hand warmers, you can get a log fire.
Exactly, there's a Kelvin light you can use. But it is actually how to get the audience to connect to your characters and believe in your characters. And how do you keep that warmth when shit is hitting the fan? And that's a really tricky balance to do, especially when a character's unlikable.
Well, that's it. And I've actually been, there's been a couple of interviews where I've been like, sort of de facto told off by the director when I asked them, like, how do you make, your character, maybe it's the terminology of like likable enough. But it's a good, when this film, I feel like we go quite far into what the warmth is of Dwayne's character, and also the mood, and also the sort of the connecting relationship. So this one's like a very clear-cut example of actually someone that's probably got a lot more in the likable column than the unlikable column.
Yes.
Because there's a bit of a Tony Scott-esque warmth to the the whole production, from the musical score to the friendliness of some of the relationships. To the sort of the visual look and the era. So there's a nice sort of rose tinting that really sort of goes to counter quite heavily the sort of the difficult sides of his relationships and the sort of struggles that he goes through. But in a lot of movies, you have like a very unlikable behaviors and sort of habits in your lead character. And, whether or not you're trying to make them, inverted commas, nice enough or likable, inverted commas, you've got to have enough in the positive column for people to not just think, oh, I didn't really care about this character, I don't want to watch this movie. And there are a lot of movies that do fit into that column. You watch them and you just think, well, I didn't really ever connect with anyone. So it's all very well having someone that's got interesting behaviors and is challenging, and et cetera, but if you don't have your audience on side, you're losing the battle in a way.
Yeah, I agree. And it's how do you do that? It's how do you bring the audience on side? And there's tricks and tips we can do, especially when you're trying to make the film and actually in post, things like color grading. You can definitely bring up the yellows, the oranges, and the red tones in the shadows and mid-tones. And that gives the skin sort of more of a flattering golden bias. So you can do that. You can use diffuse lighting, as we talked about using Kelvin range, but you can put gels over the top of that. So which creates intimacy, which creates warmth. But how do you do it through, your acting, which is the main bit of the film? This is the moments where you really need, because if someone's very unlikable, it doesn't matter how much gels and how much color grading you do, they're still unlikable. But you want the audience to connect with them, and that's often by their actions and what they do rather than what they're saying. So sometimes people can be very mean, but actually that what they're saying is something totally different. And that's filmmaking, right? You always want the
subtext.
You want the context. You want the drama to be happening every single scene that you do, so that something is happening that makes the audience go, oh, I didn't expect that. Oh, that's different. Otherwise, you're just ticking along all the time. Do you use closer shots? Do you use tighter compositions to tell the audience that you want this character to, you want them to pay more attention to this character, and then you use wider, maybe long lenses on the other character if they're talking? Do you use slow, steady, handheld? Yeah.
What are you doing with the set design? What are you telling us about kind of person that they are? and what's meaningful to them.
Absolutely. What colours relate to them and the set design, because set design is ridiculously important and people do overlook it, but it is so important to get those colours and the balance of your film right. And it can be so tricky in indie film because you don't have the money and you've just found a location that someone will give you for free and they don't want you to change anything in the house. Of course, then it suddenly becomes really difficult if you've got pink walls or blue walls or whatever.
Yeah.
But you've got to try and connect it to your character somehow, and therefore you might light it differently with your DP, Also, do you use slower, steadier handheld movement with that character to make them feel more on edge? Do you use gentle tracking shots? All this kind of stuff really does make a difference. But I think when it comes to the importance of your storytelling, it has to sort of center usually on themes of family, of friendships, redemption, or quiet reflection. And these little moments make you as the audience feel for these characters, which gives them the warmth, even if they're a horrible character. Even Darth Vader, you could say at certain points, has warmth. I mean, I wouldn't go too far as maybe Darth Vader, but it's true.
Warm people from the inside.
From the inside.
Electric burning.
Exactly, the way he grabs them around the neck.
Warm their limbs as he hacks them off. I mean,
it never stops.
Yeah. But he does have enough of a redemption arc where you actually feel sorry for him at the end.
You do. But then you also talk about blocking and staging, Where do you direct your actors to be in that room? What the physical acts that they're doing with the care or comfort. Do they touch someone? Do they touch someone's hair? Do they recoil from that? If they don't touch...
Do they get a tummy rub?
Exactly. Do they get a tummy rub, Tom? And maybe at the end of the film they do, or that's when they show a different side to them. I mean, I'm not saying every film should have a tummy rub, but Tom would really appreciate it.
But he's not saying that you shouldn't have
exactly. Or we talked about set design there, but it's like, are they lived in cozy environments, or is it a sterile environment? How do you want the audience to feel?
It was like we were at a screening yesterday, and
a dirty boy, in fact.
I'm not going to name the venue, but we went out for a little walk, but whilst the screening was happening, to sort of plan the Q&A and have a little chat and a catch up.
Yes.
And we went to one venue and it was like just sort of noisy and dingy and just very 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 sort of non-joyous sort of vibes. And then we went to Soho House afterwards for like a quick snack. There's like sofas, there's like a little log fire, and it's just like it's a home away from home, and it's like, oh, okay, and now I sort of immediately feel
warmer to me, didn't you? You suddenly became more.
Yeah,
you're more connected to me.
Yeah,
more cozy.
So that's just where you choose to go for your dinner. But the audience are looking at all of that, and they're feeling the same things that you're feeling, and the actors are feeling the same things. So it's it immediately has an effect just by plonking into a certain sort of level of lighting and environment. And multiply that by 100, and you've got a film.
Yeah, absolutely. And also nostalgia in a movie as well.
There's lots of that in this.
If you're, especially in this movie, The Smashing Machine, but if you're doing flashbacks, or if you're doing taking someone looking at a photo or looking at something they used to be, medals on a wall, whatever it is, that's got that juxtaposition of happier times, of moments when they were feeling better about themselves, and you go, oh, we're touching on that life. They felt that way then. And you've got to pull your audience into that, because we're clever people. People, humans,
I'm not
everyone, but humans are generally quite clever, and they're used to watching films. Then they know when they're being manipulated. They know when you're pushing too hard. So you do have to be subtle with it. But that's where editing comes in, or sound and music, which is also ridiculously important. And in this stuff, obviously, when you're on set and it might not feel right, you add some music to it. You add some sound design, and it changes everything. If you're thinking about soft, melodic, non-abrasive sound design and music, well, then you're already getting the audience to think about this character, because again, like I said, they've watched thousands of films and they know when this kind of soft sound is, I'm supposed to feel that way. Or naturally, unconsciously or subconsciously, they're thinking about what they feel like when they hear a bit of music like this. Or if it's a bit more like Star Wars, we'll go back to Darth Vader, you get that intense feeling that, this character's supposed to make me feel like this. So there's so many ways you can manipulate and make your film the best it can be. Warmth is so important in films. It's overlooked often. We don't think about it. On the film I've just shot over in Bulgaria, I had a numbered list on the script, and I give it to my first AD and DOP and script supervisor. Like, depending on which scene we were doing, I'd be like, well, this is one when it's like normal, like there's no horror. and 6 was super horror. So it was 1 to 6. So this is the bit where the camera has to feel something, the lights have to feel something, the set, the emotion, the characters. At a 6, it's like, this is full on. However, we're doing that.
Yeah.
And when it was a 1, it wasn't. And then everything in between was variations of that, whether it was a different tone of light, whether it was a different feel. But it just gave everyone a go, oh, okay, what number are we on at the moment? Especially when you're in the middle of shit and you're jumping scene to scene to scene. Right, this one's a 3, this one's a 6. Oh, okay. And because you can forget that. But it's just those little tiny things that just made a difference.
Well, I think that's one of the most like important and the most unteachable, sort of unintuitive sides of filmmaking is finding, you know, your film should always look like a sort of an ECG or a roller coaster ride. It should always have peaks and troughs between the slow moments and the quick moments and the pace changes. And you've got to have that balance, because if it's too slow all the time, people get stuck at the bottom of the roller coaster and they're bored. If it's too high, then people are like, they get desensitized to the drops. And you've got to always be looking at like the ups and the downs and finding the balance. And all the while sort of having a sort of slightly raising climax that you're sort of working towards as well.
Yes, you do. I think that's something we sometimes forget as filmmakers, especially when we're on set. I'm not saying anyone does forget this, but it can be overlooked.
You did.
I did. No, it's just the trying to keep on top of everything is difficult when you're in the trenches and things are going wrong. And you've just got to try and get through it. You can forget sometimes about your story or arc, or people can. I'm not saying we do, but it's something that you've just got to be aware of. You go, what's your story? And by me having those numbered things was only small, but it made a difference to just go, oh yeah, this is a 3. This is a 2. Let's not worry about this suddenly having to have this much emotion or this much feel. As long as you're still telling the story and there's drama within that. But it's just the little things. And if you forget the little things, you can derail your own film. And it all comes down to the prep, right? I mean, it's so important. You do that prep and you do your homework and you tell as many people on your film crew that this is the plan here. And then people might remind you when you've forgotten on set, not for any other reason than there's so much other shit happening. And someone just says, hey, hang on, at this point, wasn't this supposed to happen? And you go, yeah, of course it was. And this was supposed to be, oh, thank you. Because it's just, there's so much going on. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
What do you feel that Smashing Machine has made for you as a director, Dom, like open your eyes to something? Because Benny Safdie's amazing at this. He's amazing at making you feel something.
I think the little moments of character development, that was the big one, which we go into in the episode, so I won't go into too much. But also I think the music choice and just setting the tone very early with everything. Like it's just, you know, it's quite a strong decision, you know, how you open the film as well.
Oh yes, it is. Yeah.
That was quite a big one. You know, how it opens. But yeah, just sort of setting the mood, I think, and being quite bold with those decisions rather than just like, oh, let's go for the mediocre. You know, sort of middle ground approach. I think that it's just a very strong film, like in terms of its creative choices, and it immediately puts you into an era. It's got different sort of texture on the opening scene with the sort of cassette tape, and it just sort of hooks you into nostalgia within the first minute or two. So I think yeah, opening and creative choices on the things we've discussed were the main ones. But also, yeah, where to have your moments of character warmth, because that actually is very important, especially if you've got heavy subject matter.
I think that's a really, really good point. I think opening of your film and ending of your film, it's quite strange. There's just throwing this in, there's a monk on my street right now. There is. He's got a big brown. It's really unusual to see that here. Yeah. That's really strange. I live at it's north of London, and I live in a cul-de-sac. Yeah. There's like cars parked around, and there's a monk in the middle of the road. He's on the phone as well.
As he does. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Just monkeying around.
There we go.
There you go. Anyway, sorry, just sidebar. I thought that was really interesting. I think what you said there that is interesting is about the opening of your film.
But believe it.
And the ending of your film is you've got to hook the audience in. And it's something we just did on Sessions, actually. The original opening of the movie has changed massively to what it was, and that's through test screenings and audiences sort of seeing it, including Dom, who gave some great notes. And I think that's also important, is having great filmmakers around you who can watch your films and give great notes and feedback about how you don't have to take it all on board. You just have to listen. And if everyone's saying kind of the same thing, you have to pay attention to that. But the opening of the film totally changed. And that I never thought we'd do that. When I first sat down with the edit, I thought, oh, yeah, this is staying. I love this opening. And now I love the opening we've got now, and I never thought I would. And the same with the ending. You're like, no, I have to, you want to bookend it. And I think, that's something that Benny Safdie does really, really well. Really,
definitely.
Really well. Good. Should we do film term of the week? We haven't done it.
Why not?
We haven't done it for ages.
Yeah. Too long.
Far too long, because me and Dom haven't had time. We've both been a bit busy. But let's do film term of the week. Okay, so this is where I give Dom a film term, and you lot at home have to guess it before Dom does. Or guess it or get it right, or know the glossary of the film term. Tom is probably 75-25 at the moment in his favour.
Am I? Okay, great.
Yeah, I know. I mean, someone might correct me on that if they can be bothered to go through.
Yeah. 93%.
Yes, somewhere like that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's. This is a film term that people talk about quite a bit, and it is rule of thirds.
Oh, that's. Come on.
What?
Come on.
Go on.
I mean, that's an easy one.
Yeah, it's time. About time I gave you. I'll give you an easy one and a hard one.
Oh no! Okay, stay with the easy one. Well, rule of thirds is it's a sort of photography based rule, and you do literally just divide your sort of screen up into various triangles, and you never want to have things. You want to basically position things either on the side or in the sort of the main zones of certain triangles, so that your eye is drawn towards them and it's not kind of lost in the frame.
Yes.
So it's about using geometry in terms of where you position your actors, or if you're using a prop that you want to draw attention to. There's a whole bunch of different variations and complexity to how you use it, but it's the simple idea is using sort of where the eye is drawn, the horizon, and people to kind of emphasize where you want people to look in your frame.
Ting, ting, ting. Congratulations, Dom. Yeah, absolutely. It's to read what it says. It's a compositional guideline that divides the image into
composition in my case.
Yeah, exactly. Into 9 equal sections. Technically, that's 3, as Dom has said, but by 2 horizontal and 2 vertical lines, which suggesting placing key elements along these lines of all their intersections. So it doesn't have to be a person. It could be a car or a building or whatever. But it's the rule of thirds. So it's where the audience's eye is more likely to go in the film. And obviously we look from left to right, mainly in the Western world, because we read from left to right. So if you notice that the bad guy should really always come from the right-hand side of the screen and the good guy from the left, because you see them coming, go, oh, goody, goody, goody. And then if you see them come from your right, your eyes suddenly jump and go, oh, this feels distracting. So how often you place a baddie in a film will come from the right side of your screen. You can't always do that because of blocking, but that is a good tip as well. There you go. Congratulations, Dom. I think you're at 80% now.
Whoa.
Listen, thank you all so much for listening to this week's episode of the Filmmakers podcast. Go on.
Last cheeky shout out before we wrap things up.
Yeah.
So Giles, who
that's me,
wonderfully joined as first AD and also hosted one of our fabulous Q&As 2 days ago at Alexandra Palace.
Did.
So myself and the Shakespeare sisters and the director Chris Redding and the Cha-Cha girls from cult classic time travel movie Time Travel is Dangerous hosted a massive event at Alexandra Palace. We had a fair which involved stalls, shops, food stalls, fairground games, and 2 screenings in their 800-seat cinemas. including Q&As, one which Giles did, one which Rod Gilbert hosted.
That was obviously way better than that famous comedian. Yes.
Yes, obviously.
Obviously.
Doctor Who, Jodie Whittaker popped down to say hello as well, which is very nice. And yeah, I mean, it was just an enormous undertaking, but I think that's the end of our 100 cinema run.
100 cinemas.
100 cinema,
Listen,
100 screen run.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, look, this is a huge testament to what you can do as an indie filmmaker, which Dom, the Shakespeare Sisters, and Chris Redding have done with Time Travel is Dangerous, which is out now on all digital platforms, is you can get cinemas to book your movie. They got 100 cinemas. This is
100 screens, yeah.
100 screens, yeah. With this incredible. It's an incredible achievement.
Yeah.
So yes,
and also, you know, I think this event especially proves that you know, if you're not the next big blockbuster film, you can do a big screening. You can, if you put the effort in, if you put the time in. You know, we've just finished cinema runs for Mark Hampton's Unlicensed and Doug Rowell's Dirty Boy, which you also were a producer on. And yeah, we've done successful cinema tours across the country, and they're all different scales of films that have all had different styles of cinema runs, and they've all done very well. So hit me up if you need a cinema run.
Yeah, do. Honestly, Dom is brilliant at this stuff. If you have got your film coming out soon, or you will do in the next year or so, hit Dom up, because he's a genius at cinema runs and helping you get your film.
It only costs $100,000 to hire me.
Yeah, exactly. It's only $100,000. That's nothing. For your indie film, you'll be fine. Even though you all made it for way less. Yeah, no, Dom's really good at that. And he's done that for Dirty Boy, which we had our last screening last night. I'll let you know when that film will be released. But also Time Travel is Dangerous, which is out on all digital platforms now.
Yeah.
There you go. Great shout out.
There we go.
There you go.
All right.
The Smashing Machine is out, though, in cinemas now. Benny Safdie's latest film. Go watch that. It's
Benny Smashdie.
Oh, that's really nice. And if you are lucky to rise up and do well, as always, it is your duty to
ground and pound the elevator back down into submission.
Into submission. We will see you next Tuesday when we have on Joseph Milsom, who's another person, another director, an actor.
He's another person.
He's another human. He's now directed his first feature film, Signs of Life, which is also doing its cinema run right now, and that is going to be released in a week's time on digital as well. Signs of Life. So Joseph Milsom is joining us next week. It's a great episode. Myself, Dom, and Phil Hawkins sat down and had a right laugh. You don't want to miss it. How to make an indie film from pretty much zero budget. It's going to be a cracker for you. There you go.
Right.
Let's get out of here, because the monk now has put his hood up and he's walking towards me. Luckily I'm in a building a bit higher up than he is.
Yep.
It's a daft monk. He's got his hood up.
Oh, very good.
Have you got any? No.
No, not really.
Well, let's bring it back to the Adam Sandler movie, Punch Monk Love.
Oh.
Honey, I Monk the Kids. We could keep going.
Yeah.
But no, he's gone to the side of the road now. He's got his hand on his head. He doesn't look really happy. I might go talk to him, actually. I might go give him some advice on filmmaking. I could do with some. Right, thank you everyone for listening. Thanks, Dom.
Thanks, Charles.
And we'll see you all next Tuesday. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's...